Askreddit thread. What socially unacceptable things are you okay with? Leaving a party without saying goodbye. This describes my life. I am literally the only person in my family who does this, and they always get all mad at me next time I go. It's like, I'd rather have this conversation about you being mad at me than hunt you down during a party to say bye. I say goodbye to the host and close friends who are there. Then I'm out. I'm not going to interrupt everyone's conversation just to let them know I'm leaving. And I hate the goddamn arguments you get. You're going? Why? Because I have to or want to. 2 or 3 parties like this is how I perfected the vanishing act. Yeah, that's so true. After a while, people don't even get mad anymore that I leave without saying anything. I, too, am the master of the sneak out. So much easier and quicker than trying to say goodbye. My wife hates it when I leave her and the kids there. You guys need code words. My son and I tried the look, and one of us always fails to notice. We now go into social situations with an emergency exit strategy. Catch y'all later, alligator. The worst is when you have to say goodbye to each individual person there before you leave. This is proper etiquette in my family. You can't just wave goodbye to everyone and walk out the door. You have to hug and cheek kiss each person. I fucking hate it. Oh, this is my family on my mom's side too. It's part of Mexican culture where you have to say hello and bye to everyone in the house when you go to a party, and I just take no part in it. I used to when I was little and my mom made me, and then as soon as I turned 18, like literally I just stopped. Even though I still live with her, I was like, I don't care. This is the dumbest thing. I am not going to take part in this. Because we have so much family, and it literally takes like 15 minutes to leave. It's the oh wait, I want to read more of these just because this relates to me so much. I don't think I've ever read an Askreddit thing that I so wholeheartedly agree with. It's just silly. You end up spending almost as much time catching up as saying goodbye. Yeah, not to mention you have to say goodbye twice in my family. The first time is when your mom says you're leaving, and then the second is when you're actually walking out the door about half an hour later when your mom has finished talking. It's the good old Irish goodbye. My experience of a goodbye in Ireland involves announcing you're leaving, then proceeding to have another conversation in the doorway for a further hour. I'm Jewish. We can't do this. We do the opposite. We say goodbye without actually leaving. The struggle of trying to leave a bar mitzvah. I just need to start saying quick goodbyes. 2 hours later. Just a few more people. Music stops, parties being cleaned up. Oh, look, they said we can take one of the centerpieces. Let's just go talk to them about the party and how much fun they had. I agree with this completely. I've been at typical family parties where nobody can segue the conversation to a simple, we better get going, because they don't want to be the first ones to leave and say goodbye and be rude. Or at least here, saying goodbye is the rude part. My 2 older brothers and I have the whole leaving the family gets together down to a science. I'm the youngest, no children. They are both 35 to 40 with a combined 7 children. So when one of them wants to leave, they come talk to me, and I always want to leave. And since I don't bring kids for the old folks and women to play with, no one seems to mind when I decide to go. But everyone knows once someone has broken the I'm leaving ice, it's every clan for themselves. Gets me out of there, gets them out of there, bearing any woman/child fiasco. This works well for us. Oh, you know what? I never thought of it like that. Maybe my sisters use the fact that I leave early all the time to get out of there, like a couple minutes later. They should be thanking me for leaving early all the time. Yes, way too much trouble saying goodbye to every drunkard there. It takes too long. Okay, that's enough. Just straight up agreeing with this unacceptably social thing that... whatever. Doing things alone. For example, eating in public alone, seeing a movie on your own, and so on. Doing things alone. I've tried that before, but it just feels... I don't know, I guess I'd have to do it more times. I've tried a couple things with myself, but it just feels weird. It's like, I make friends easy, I can just go get one and do this. Otherwise, I'm just going to stay home and not go to the movies by myself. Seeing a movie on your own is awesome. You get there exactly when you want to, see exactly what you want to see, leave exactly when you want to, and you don't have to have any conversations you don't want to. It's beautiful. Yeah, I tried that for the first time a couple weeks ago. It was everything I imagined it could be and more. I left when I wanted to, didn't have to share snacks. Found a perfect seat as well. 10/10 would recommend. I started doing this now. I've got a little expendable income, and I realize that I love going to movies, but I hate the hassle of getting a group together to pick a time. arrange rides, like the movie everybody likes, etc. I'm normally a really social guy, but after a few movies by myself, I realized it's just awesome. I went and saw Interstellar because I had a few hours in Chicago by myself, and recently I went and saw Jurassic World because nobody else was free. Agreed, 10/10 would recommend. You know, actually, I saw those movies too, but I just realized I saw them with my mom, my brother, and my father-in-law. My mom will sometimes just invite me out to movies, and then she'll come and pick me up. And it's a free movie for me, so I always agree. I don't think I really would watch movies if they didn't invite me out and pay for it. Because my nearest friend lives like 40 minutes away and I don't have a car. I went and had lunch alone at a cheap Italian place. When I told my coworker, he was flabbergasted that I had eaten by myself at a restaurant. He kept asking if it was awkward, etc. How is it awkward to go out and eat by yourself? I don't get it. Do they even have places where you eat alone in a restaurant? I have no idea. I should try that someday. I eat alone all the time. I don't think people really see it as weird anymore. Really depends on the restaurant. The more casual it is, the more acceptable, I think. It'd be a little weird to see someone getting a 7-course meal with wine pairings alone. But a dude grabbing a burger at a beer and a local bar doesn't even attract a second notice. Putting elbows on the table while eating. Does anyone really give a fuck? I never understood why this was so rude. I did that once at a fancy restaurant and almost got kicked out. What? It originally started from when sailors were eating on ships. They would put their elbows on the table to keep the dish from sliding during rougher seas. As this became a habit for them, they would also do it while not out on sea and at pubs and such. Well, sailors don't have the best reputation for being clean and well-mannered, so non-sailors don't want to be associated with them and thus would not put their elbows on the tables. Hence where this rule came from. That's an interesting thing I never knew. Don't know if this is truly answering the question, but me dating someone who is not a dwarf like I am. There is definitely a social stigma around the idea of a dwarf dating an average height that is on par with stigmas around other minorities dating outside their group. I would even say more so in some cases. In my experience, the majority of the general public will openly express how weird and awkward they think such a relationship is when the topic comes up, and are often surprised or taken aback by the very notion. I'm repeatedly told I should date a dwarf woman by both people I know and don't know at all, and more often I'm not told to. People just assume that is what my only option is and don't even consider the possibility of me not dating a dwarf. It frustrates the hell out of me. I've never even met another dwarf in my life. It would actually be a lot more hassle to even go about it. It's not like I'm even against the idea of dating a woman with dwarfism in the slightest, but nothing makes me want to date able-bodied women more than hundreds of people assuming that it's not even an option for me. Wow. I have dwarfism as well, and I have never had this problem. My friends and families are always trying to get me to date normal people, or whoever I want, I suppose. Also, from a genetic standpoint, if you don't have acrodroplasmia, which is one of the few dominant ones, I believe, then the dwarfism is usually recessive. By dating another dwarf, you are only increasing the odds of your children having a disability as well. Do you think Game of Thrones has been a positive thing for dwarfs, having essentially one of the most charismatic and interesting TV characters of the decade be a dwarf? When it comes to the attitude of relationships in particular, definitely. I almost can't believe the change in social attitudes in such a short period of time. It just goes to show that it doesn't take a lot to actually normalize something. It's just that there was such a stark absence of any good, fully rounded portrayals of dwarfs, aside from maybe two that come to mind. The station agent, Insignificant Harvey, and most people aren't even familiar with him. And since we're such a small minority, the vast majority of the public rely on media portrayals to shape their outlook to some extent. So it was highly effective when Game of Thrones became so huge. I'm honestly so grateful. More people see me as a person right off the bat now, and not a novelty or a one-dimensional character. We're people of happenstance and not some weird subspecies. Stark absence. That's what I was actually wondering this question too. It's like, ever since Game of Thrones came out, since one of the most fan favorite characters is a dwarf, I wonder if they're like how the whole social structure between being a dwarf was perceived in normal people. Because I know I love Tyrion. Being alone. I don't get to do it enough, so I adore being alone. Running in public, not as means of training, but as means of getting from one place to another. Much more time efficient than walking. Let's see. Not sure if it's unacceptable, but striking up a conversation with a stranger. This happened to me last week on campus, and it was very nice. It seems to me that many people rather stay in their own bubble and prefer to be on their phone if they don't know anyone. Really depends where the person is from, I think. I met a cute Ukrainian girl at my train station last week. She accidentally bought the wrong ticket and asked me a question. We then spent the next 45 minutes talking and sitting next to each other, trade information, and then hugged when we got our ways. It's nice to meet people. Day drinking. As long as it doesn't become a problem, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to enjoy a beer at 11 a.m. Alright. Silence. People always try and fill the silence. Just shut up. It is fine. I seriously don't care if we are sitting in awkward silence for 20 minutes. It isn't awkward to me at all. Ooh, I love this. Especially when it's with someone I don't care for. Saying black instead of African American. I thought that was acceptable, though. We have Black History Month. Ugh, you know what? I'm going to cut this one a little short.